am going to launch us off here and ask a question that I have no idea where it's going to go. I think it's going to help a lot of people because one of the questions...
When you say a lot of people and you're looking at me, do you mean it's going to help me?
No, I think it's going to help the people that listen to us because a lot of people say, oh, I wish I had a friend. How do I make friends? How do I, be a friend? And they listen to us talk and they're like, I want what they have.
Of course they do. We're real cute.
So I'm nervous about asking this question because...
You're making me nervous.
No, it's making me nervous. When you hear it, I hope I stump you. I don't know.
Oh my
goodness. But it's making me nervous, but I think it's really going to help a lot of people think about how they do friendship. How do you experience me as a friend?
How do I experience you as a friend?
Yes.
Oh, this is an easy question.
Is it? Because I'm the one on the spot here. You get to give me feedback on my friendship.
Oh my goodness, right here in front of the whole world. We do have worldwide listeners.
We do.
Okay, so
international.
International. On our international podcast. Heather, you're easy to be friends with. How do I experience you as a friend? I feel heard and seen and valued. And I feel like if I need correction, you're willing to nudge me, but you don't push. There's something about you, and this has to have just developed over a long, slow process. But I have certain insecurities that the average person has no idea about. I have too much bravado. The natural person would have the natural person. Who's the natural?
Normal.
The normal person.
Normal.
The normal. Or the one with natural hair. Either, both of those. Neither of those people would know. But I do have somewhere deep inside of me fear of rejection, which maybe everybody does. Did you know that? Did you already know that?
That you had fear of rejection? Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Because you're very gentle with me and very transparent and open and honest, but I'm trying to think, goodness, I feel stumped for words. We recorded, for our church, an episode. I want to call everything an episode now that we're professional podcasters. We recorded a small, were we doing? A Daughters Live. So it was for our women's ministry. It was an event where all of our ladies, when we were in quarantine, everybody's watching from home, a live event. And I said something like apologized for doing something, just kind of in passing. And you said, no apology necessary. I knew what you meant. It was just a blind spot. And I felt corrected, but loved. It was just a blind spot. You didn't know. I don't know. Just the way that you care for my heart, the way that you can see through, like when I haven't just so you know, I got in trouble from Brian recently about that last Friday about canceling out on lunch too late. I'm really sorry. I had my last physical therapy appointment after 4 months. I needed to get one of my kids somewhere so that we could go out. We had plans you and I and Whit and Brian, we had plans to go out that night. It was like some marathon whole day together.
It was.
And I couldn't do it all without starting to like bubble up and starting to feel some anxiety about like, I've got to get this kid here and I've got to get this kid here. But I did cancel a little late. And Brian was like, you cannot do that to people. That is not nice. So I'm sorry about that.
It's all right.
But you overlook those things about me and I just feel loved. I do need to say one thing.
Just tell me. Give me all the feedback.
Last week, I should have beat you at Catan. I had all the right numbers.
I'm not going to let you beat me.
You somehow pulled it out. And if I'm holding anything against you, that's it.
I will not let anybody win. I'm not going to give anybody a win, no matter how much I like them.
That was my game. That was my week. I had great numbers. I haven't won in, I don't know, decades. It was my day. And
I will play again, give you another shot.
I'm still mad at you for that. But I don't think anything real. There's something about doing friendship over the long haul. I don't know in my before Christ days if you're who I would have picked to be this close with at this point in my life. And I'm so thankful.
If you surround yourself with people that are just like you.
You live in an echo chamber.
Yes.
It happens. We've seen it. Like, you don't recognize it necessarily in friendships so much. You can sometimes recognize it if I were to toss out the topic of politics on social media or whatever. You can recognize it like, I only follow people that believe and vote the way I believe and vote the way I vote. So then when you're spouting off your beliefs and things, people are just saying, yes, I agree and you're right and everybody else is wrong. And it's so crazy.
Yeah.
But it's like that in friendship too. If you're only with people just like you, then there's a whole perspective that's just unseen, not noticed. It's hard to relate to other people.
Well, or
it's hard to love other people.
Well, or you get judgmental of the people that you're in relationship with because you only consider that my way is the right way to do things.
Sure.
Like, you better parent your kids the same way I parent my kids.
Did you
because
ever?
Otherwise, I can't be with you.
Did you ever say crazy things when you were young? And if you're listening and you're young, I don't think you're crazy. So if you say this, I understand. But things like, when I have kids, they're never going to act like that in Target.
Oh, yeah. When I have kids, they will always have their hair brushed.
Oh, my goodness. You don't know what you don't know, and that's okay. But when you have a broader range of friends that bring light to life in a different way, it can be really beautiful. The fact that you don't care that when you have me over for dinner, I don't help clean up anything, I'm like, you're a gold mine. Brian helps clean those.
Brian helps clean up.
So we should flip-flop that.
And how do I experience you? Well, it's the same. You and Whit are similar in that your personalities are so challenging.
Yeah.
It makes me uncomfortable. Like
I know. I often wondered why. Is it a gift or a curse that you landed with both of us?
I know. Well, it's a gift. It's a gift because I would probably be a disaster without at least one of you in my life.
Probably
and
both
look
of
how
us.
spectacular I am because of both. I appreciate the challenge in my life and your perspective on things.
I can't think of a single time I challenge you. I feel like I'm so nice to you.
It's just subtle. It's just a subtle pushing, of hearing in our conversation and the way that we approach things, the way that you see it pushes me to expand. Because I recognize in myself that there's flaws of I can be careless and lazy, and having people that challenge my thinking help me to be more careful with other people's feelings and their perspectives and their and what they have going on. Because most of the time in my life, I just float along with the idea of it'll be fine.
You do. It'll be fine.
It'll be fine. What's the problem? Just get in there and do it. And it's not always fine. There's other things going on that it's not always fine.
I feel like in some ways, our families are raising each other's families too. Like the things I learn from your interactions with one of your kids or Whit's interaction with one of your kids. And then I see, similar personality traits in one of my kids and one of your kids. And I think, it's easier to see sometimes with how you're interacting with one of your kids. And then I go, oh, I might need to tweak this over here with this one or this two or this,
Yeah, same. Letting you into my life as a parent or a spouse helps that I can put some of that parenting of my kids. I'm thinking of one in particular.
For sure.
Onto you to challenge things in their life that they won't receive from me. So I can try 3 different ways to say something to my child.
Right.
But if you say it to them, they're just like, oh, okay. Well,
every kid needs an adult in their corner and on their side that isn't their parents.
Yeah.
And sometimes they want it and sometimes they don't. They still need it.
Yeah.
Like I think my most introverted kid, I watch, and I'm sure this is intentional, but I watch that every time he's around your family, you and Whit both talk to him about stuff, ask him questions. He hates stuff like that, but he needs it, and he needs to know that he's seen and he's loved, and he receives that.
Yeah. I think one of the difficulties of doing life together, especially with families and husbands and finding couple friends, is the chemistry that everybody
Has to have. Yeah.
to be able to get along. You have to like both spouses. You have to, enjoy the company of everybody that you're with, or it's not going to work. The hard part is finding that chemistry.
Sure.
You have to be open-handed with what you're looking for, or who you think you're going to fit with.
That's a good way to say it, Heather, because we didn't happen upon our family-on-family relationship easily. Like, Brian tells this story all the time. I met Heather when I was interning at the church. And Heather, what were you doing? Working like as an administrative assistant or something, which is like all your weaknesses on display.
Yeah, it's like the absolute worst job you can give me is.
But we were like so low we weren't even on the totem pole of life, but we were low, and we volunteered at a Thursday night service. We were all volunteering together. So I felt like I'd gotten to know you. I don't even know if you remember that. I felt like I'd gotten to know you kind of through that, and then through our friend Sarah. And anyway, we got invited to something at your house. You and Whit were newly married, and Brian and I were dating. And we left, and Brian's like, I don't ever want to do anything with that guy ever again.
That was in Whit's pre-Real Jesus days.
Yeah.
And you know what? It's funny, as you mentioned Sarah. Like, Whit and I were friends with James and Sarah, but James was willing to and could, because of his family of origin and where he comes from, his part of the country, could put up with a lot of Whit's.
Oh, that's funny. Yeah. Where Brian's like,
Yeah,
like,
not going to do it. Yeah.
You be friends with Heather all you want. Finish there.
Yeah.
So I will say the reason that 2 decades has worked was everyone's grown up a lot.
A lot.
And we've all progressed spiritually. I think there's times, we work at a church, there's times in church life where one friend grows exponentially spiritually and the other one is content staying where they are. And that friendship will eventually dissolve. We've all continued to grow together, which makes a big difference. Everyone doesn't have a friendship like our families do.
But I think you can.
I do too.
I think you can. I think
and it's permission to be honest. Like, we know this about my middle son is introverted and he'd prefer to stay home, but we often gather at your house. And so there's times where Chase is like, I don't want to go to the Georges. And there's times we make him and there's times we don't make him. And you guys know that about him, though. It's not, there's just, we don't sweep it under the rug. We're all clear about that.
Yeah.
So our family celebrate some holidays together even. And this year on Easter, you asked me, you called me well ahead of time. What do you want to do? Because it's also Chase's birthday this year. And what does he want for his birthday? Because that's what we'll do. If he doesn't want to come over for his birthday, we won't do this together. I mean, like, we just have permission to be honest about all the things.
Yeah.
And Chase, being the responsible child he is, he's just like, I mean, it's my birthday, but it's also a day to celebrate Jesus. And I mean, I get that. So we tried to celebrate Chase all weekend, and then we celebrated Easter as families. It's hard work. It's doable.
It's a lot of honesty. It's, talking about all the things and being open-handed with who you think you're going to like.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Who you think, that's very good. Who you think you're going to like. And then there's some friendships that are not family-on-family friendships. I'm having a hard time thinking of a really great example because we are doing a lot of family-on-family life. But Brian and his best friend Lee have been best friends since they were 12 years old. I would say that family-on-family, we've been friends for a very short amount of time.
So Lee and Shannon is who we're talking about. And as they came, as they were hanging out with us and doing things with us, Shannon and Lee are very open about who they are and who they're not. And we all are. Like, I'll do this, but I won't do that.
Yeah.
Or whatever it might be. So that I'm not expecting something from you that you're not. You've told me who you are.
Yeah.
And great. I'll love you right where you're at.
You're right. And we can do family on family with all three of our families now. And I don't ever even have to feel bad if I glance over at you and there's like just something inside the app and I go, oh my goodness, and you laugh. Because Shannon knows who she is and she's fine.
Yeah.
And I can sit and talk with Shannon. I mean, like there's no girl cattiness. There's no husband cattiness. But we're mid-40s and we've learned a lot of lessons over life.
Yeah.
So, well, let's talk about this for a second. Because I think season 2, we're going to focus on parts of different relationships and topics that aren't always brought to the surface. Because you know what I feel like we did well in season 1, I mean, we were certainly baby podcasters, but what I feel like we did well was bringing to the light things that maybe had been in the darkness, or at least in the church world, people don't talk about. So we're going to attempt to do the same thing with relationships. So less like how to make a friend or how to, and more like the things that people don't ever talk about, like what about a necessary ending to a friendship? Mm-hmm. How to deal with a toxic friendship, how to deal with a sexless marriage, how to communicate when, the other side's not listening or what have you. Just we're going to try to bring to the surface things that aren't often talked about in the church. But in saying that, I think we have to launch with, we said this in season 1, but we might have brand new listeners. It's a lot of hard work to have a healthy relationship.
It is. It's in some ways it's more work than it is fun.
Thank you.
Because I think that, I hate conflict. So even in marriage or friendship or kids or whatever it might be, I really don't want to bring something up that's going to cause discomfort to me. I'd rather just like, let's just gloss over that and not pay attention to it. And so I mean you're dealing with human beings, real people, fallen people, broken people, and so daily you're entering into conflict.
Yeah.
So it is a lot of hard work.
It is. I think often, because we did get this after season 1, people asking questions, not so directly, but I do think they want to know how we found each other. And I like that kind of friendship. But one thing that our families do, and we as couples do, and then even just as friends, me and you, or Brian and Whit, or what, we travel together. Mm-hmm. Like you're going to be up in somebody's business if you're going to start traveling together, like going on trips together. We do weekly lunch together. We try to do weekly something else together. That takes time.
It takes time.
But if you don't put it on the calendar,
commitment.
Whit said to us, I just still think it's so funny. Several months ago, he texted on a Friday, because we go to lunch every Friday, text on a Friday. He's like, you guys free for lunch? I was like, I have physical therapy. He's just like, what is happening, guys? This is not a new question. We do this every week. Everybody, mark your calendar every Friday, the rest of the year, then we'll reevaluate. And it was funny, but I legitimately marked my calendar. And there's certainly days that come up that we have to cancel or reschedule for something. But just in knowing that we have a blocked out time for friendship on the calendar, like we don't move from this unless we have a discussion. And that's how we keep our friendship. Mm-hmm. It's easy to drift apart.
It is. It is. I mean, especially I think that moms do it more than any other group of people drifting or not prioritizing, that they put everything on the back burner for their responsibilities. And it can be detrimental.
Yeah.
Detrimental.
Yeah. What'd you say the first time?
Detrimental.
It's because you were at the dentist earlier.
Yeah.
Okay.
It can be detrimental to your spiritual, emotional, mental health to deprive yourself of close relationships, that you have to prioritize them.
We tell ourselves weird things like, I'm not a good mom if I don't stay with my kids right now. Like they'd have a better version of me if I went and had a girls' night out and came back.
They would.
They just would.
They would. And they'll be fine. That's my motto again coming up. They'll be fine. They can fix themselves dinner and
Yeah.
And your husband is perfectly capable of being a father all by himself, without you there telling him what to do. I think there's a lot of tools that we have learned over the years to help us in our relationships, not only as friends, but as husbands, wives, spouses, kids, the whole thing that we've learned, picked up at different places. One person that we follow pretty closely is Pete Scazzaro.
Yeah, in fact, every single episode this season will likely drop into the show notes Pete and Jerry Scazzaro's ministry, contact information, emotionally healthy spirituality, emotionally healthy relationships, emotionally healthy woman, all of those. So good. And there's tools to learn, like ladder of integrity, when you're having conflict with someone, how to communicate that clearly and work through it. Oh man, let's talk about that one episode. When we do, I can talk about when, for a very short season of life, my husband's best friend was my boss, and that blew up. And how I tried to quit, and then he wouldn't let me quit, and then he fired me. That went over so well. Oh my goodness.
There was a lot of emotionally healthy work going on in that season.
There was a lot of junk that the Lord was excavating from my heart. And just spoiler alert, I actually like my husband's best friend now. But didn't prior to that.
It was hard, but I think that there was a lot of grace in that season.
Yeah.
I think you experienced so much love and grace from, can we say his name?
Oh, yeah, we can.
Okay, so from Lee, your husband's best friend, and his wife.
Oh, and his wife.
And
that was
they
really
both
good.
Knew that you're mad and struggling, and they're just like, we're going to love you.
Listen,
no matter what.
Lee said to me in a conversation when I was just like, and that's the end of that. And he said, well, I'm going to pray that that's not true. Like tears in his eyes. I'm going to pray that one day. And I was so mad. I was so mad. But we'll talk about that on an episode and how God turned that around. Primarily, I will say, not primarily, in part because of how Shannon, his wife, treated me through the situation. Relationships are hard.
Yeah.
And all kinds of personal entanglements. I think we should have an episode, Heather, on when to betray someone's confidence. When someone confides in you and it's time to bring it out to the open. Those are some hard times. Knowing that someone may never trust you again, but they may end up in a far better place because of it. How to deal with a codependent friend.
Yeah. How about be friends with your husband?
Oh, okay. Like, oh, that one sounds hard. Seasonal friendships or relationships. Oh, this is a good one that we're going to talk about for sure. We should let it be known. It probably depends on what age and what season of life you're in, but can men and women be friends? Like, can men and women be best friends?
Yeah.
Close friends. I think it's worth a discussion because there's a lot of different opinions on that, and I've got some too.
Oh, I can't wait to hear that.
I've got some. I've got some. So,
yeah, it's going to be fun. I think that you and I will grow in our friendship.
We're going to grow in our friendship and relationships in general. I think that relationships are the hot topic for the season, and so that can be relationships with coworkers, with peers, with friends, with spouses, with children. Good grief. When to be a friend and when to be a parent, that's a whole nother.
Yeah, I'm moving into a new season where my oldest is graduating high school and he still needs a parent, but it's moving into coaching more than parenting. And then how do I be his friend? Does he want me to be his friend?
Yeah, he wants me to be his friend, so that's good.
Yeah. So anyway, it's going to be fun.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to it.
So let's talk about relationships and the things that the church doesn't often talk about. Do we have a new ritual that we're ending every episode with?
What brought you joy in this last week?
This last week. This shouldn't be this difficult if it's real. You first.
Okay. Track meets. I spent yesterday sitting outside at 2 different track meets, and it's a lot of sitting, but I actually really love it. I love watching these kids run, all of them, not just my own, because there's honestly something spiritual about running.
Oh, my word.
I know there's some people that don't want to hear that.
I don't agree with that at all.
I mean, but it's brought up in the Bible several different times of running.
I don't read those scriptures in the same light that you do.
When you see somebody that's really beautiful and graceful at running, I mean, it's like their feet don't even touch the ground. And it's awesome to watch, and to see these races where kids are sprinting it out for the finish line is exhilarating, and I love it.
I love to hear you talk about that because my kids ran track like 1 year, and that was not my favorite.
Yesterday at this one particular track meet, I had never seen this before. They did a big cat relay, and it was all the throwers. So it's the big guys that get out and throw the discus and the shot put, and they did relays for them. It was a 400 relay.
Just for fun?
Just for fun. So each athlete did a 100-yard dash in a relay for 400 meters. And there was so much excitement and cheering in the crowd. Like the whole crowd is cheering for these guys that never get to run. And it just was the second to last event of the day, and it elevated the whole thing where everybody's tired and they've been sitting out in the sun all day. Everybody's on their feet and cheering, and it was amazing to watch these guys sprinting and giving it everything they had.
You just gave me what brought me joy this week, and it's a different sport. But just you saying that, and it's not about my example is not about the sport, but my second son, Chase, he's in 7th grade, and he was playing in a baseball tournament with his school, and they were in the bottom of the final inning of the game, and they were down by 2 runs, and a couple people get on base, what have you. We end up with 2 outs, and the kid in front of Chase goes up to bat, gets a hit, scores a couple of runs, so it ties it. So everybody's exciting. So Chase goes up to bat. And so he's either going to be the hero or the zero. I mean, he's either going to...
That's pressure.
Yeah, totally pressure. I just could tell by his body language walking up that no matter what happened, I was so proud of him. Just confidently heading up there. The high schoolers were going to have a game after theirs, so the high school coaches are there watching, and there's a big crowd, and the high schoolers are like warming up. It's just like, in my opinion, the most pressure-filled situation there could be. So Chase gets a tremendous hit and scores the winning run, and his whole team rushes the field. They're like jumping on him and like pounding his helmet and celebrating. And he does not typically like when attention is drawn to him, but he was the hero in that moment.
Oh, that's
awesome.
And
it was so good for my mom heart to see a situation where he could receive that attention and enjoy it.
Yeah. Well, and even that he is learning to do well under pressure.
Yeah.
That he didn't crumble. He didn't,
So this senior on the baseball team that's like really good, going to go play baseball in college next year. In the locker room, the younger kids are like getting their stuff and leaving. The high school kids are getting ready for their game going in. And this kid goes, "Hey, who hit that walk-off? Who hit that walk-off?" And Chase is like, "I did." And he's like, "Hey, man, good job." So the senior, I just like, there's so much to love about it. Yeah. There's so much to love about it. Then the head varsity baseball coach was like, "Did you get that on video? We'd like to put that up on Twitter." And we didn't get it on video, but just telling Chase, the school wanted to put your hit up on social media.
We weren't recording it. So.
Oh my goodness. Then we go to watch my oldest kid's game that night. Brian's with Eleanor at a different game. I'm with Chase watching Cooper, and I'm videoing Cooper up at bat because Brian wasn't there. I wanted to send it to him. And Chase goes, "So you video Cooper batting and not me?" I go, "Oh my goodness. I'm only doing this because your dad's not here. Your dad was with me."
Yeah. If you want to call and leave us a message, you've got something on your mind, something you want to ask, something you want us to talk about, our number is 1-539-215-9432. We would love to hear from you.
My favorite part of whenever you read the numbers, you always add that one for our international listeners.
Just in case.